Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, commanders and commandants, welcome back to the Brightworks and what will be undoubtedly one of the longest casts of the season. A game that came highly recommended from multiple different sources within the Brightworks community, notably the Discord. A game that I knew I was just going to have to cast. So buckle in, grab a snack, grab a drink, and get ready for a nearly 90-minute long game. Now, I've got a glass of water with me here, but I would definitely recommend take some time early on here. Go grab a drink, go grab your popcorn, because yeah, we're in it for the long haul here. And needless to say, this is going to be a little bit of a more leisurely cast. We're going to take a second and relax here because I'm certain that we've got quite a long time to enjoy the action here. So we'll take a nice long time to get to meet all our players as well. Spawning in the backline. As the backline here for the blue team, it's going to be a duo of commanders. One goes by the name of MB Pete, and the other by Kyrail. Both going to be playing in the backline here of a map that I've actually forgotten the name of. Tempest version 3, that's right. I actually just recently played a game on this map, and it ended up being a banger. A really fun map. It's a kind of an interesting one. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of funky positions, and I guess, you know what, we got the time for it, so I may as well get into it. As you can see, Smoked Too Much, as well as the Lavender Commander here, the Evil Bunny, both going to be building on these sort of little island waterways here, where they've got bot labs to pump out units, and the units can wander around inside and out of all of these little riverways, while contesting the metal extractors that are on the land. Now, there is a viable strategy here, another viable strategy, and it involves going for a naval lab. I don't know if you can build one in this crevasse here. It looks like you just barely might be able to fit one in there. I'm not entirely sure, but otherwise building a naval lab somewhere in the back here, either on this side of the island and then pushing forward with naval units, basically trying to leverage the power of Navy into an advantage against the ground units. It's a super powerful strategy, but also you're sort of limited because you can't use really submarines. Destroyers struggle to get around these islands really nicely. You basically have to use frigates, but that's not really that big of a problem. Frigates are phenomenal. And already we've got gunboats across the field here. Alright, lovely stuff. Looks like Twitch Alex Kuj, the orange commander here, has a couple of gunboats already out and across the way towards the cyan and purple forces here. Will the gunboats manage to find too much value? Clev is in position here. They managed to kill at least one radar tower. Commander in position to blast those down with JL7 underwater laser beam. J7NS laser, the underwater laser beam, which fires away at any of those gunboats, well, really anything around here. Scout plane shot down very nicely here by the anti-airship. Second scout plane on exactly the same exactly the same course and receiving exactly the same result. Yeah, definition of insanity right there. Our red team spawning in the backline here. Oh, and going for a cheeky strategy. Okay, this is actually kind of interesting. We have the red commander Trotsky going to be playing in the backline here and going for the metal extractors all along the southern side, and instead forcing the brown commander here, Eggplant, to go for the mexes on the front line. But I will point out, this is not really an air spot. Not at all. Typically, this spot right here for the brown commander would be pushing forward, claiming these metal extractors right here, and trying to secure this island sector that Smoked Too Much, the green commander, fittingly, is, yeah, gonna have basically a perfect lockdown of. Now, one of the interesting things about this map is that it totally looks like a frontline backline sort of a map, but it really isn't. This is actually a complete lanes map. Typically, what you want to see here is that the player right here is going to be, I'll go to a high perspective here. Usually we don't do this in a game, but I know for a fact that this one's going to last a while, so we can go ahead and take a little bit of a higher angled perspective and walk through this here. Typically the player that spawns right here is going to march forward along the waterways and push forward like this. The player that spawns in the backline here, oftentimes people will make this into an air player or a tech player. Really what they should be doing is fighting along this side to reinforce the player that spawns in this line, and then you end up going like this. I'm going to go ahead and delete that drawing now. And that gives you basically complete coverage over the map, and it lets you get a really big positional advantage. Like, for instance, you can see right here for the green commander. Does that constructor look a little bit better? Kind of hard to tell, but that core constructor looked really nice right there. Wonder if they've done a little bit of touching up to some of these models. I know Cortex is in for a little bit of a revision. Their Shiva model looking fabulous nowadays, and certainly I imagine that sort of style is going to be applied to all of the Cortex stuff eventually. One incisor goes down, manages to take one of these grunts with it, and I think the reinforcement bonus here from these incisors coming out of the lab will be significant enough that these grunts won't really manage to make it much further than maybe past this one final incisor here. Oh, incisor does live. 2% HP remaining. And the blue commander now pushing on this side. Ooh, MVP. MVP, oh no! MVP exploding right next to the base right here of the Lavender Commander. Could not escape from the death ball that is the Orange Navy. 2 frigates, a destroyer, and a couple of those missile boats more than powerful enough to blast away at one of those commanders. Now we have anti-air boats firing away at Shuriken that are, well, flying overhead here. Shuriken get paralyzed. Alright, not bad. Hey, cool airplay from the red commander, helping out the orange. Sends the Shuriken aggressively across the map in order to try and paralyze whatever they can. I think the torpedo launchers here are worth paralyzing. They do so much damage that if you do shut those down, you're in a really good way. My goodness, why don't we just paralyze the whole base? What a play right here from the orange commander. Yeah, no air here from the blue team. I guess is coming back to bite them in the rears. Not enough anti-air here to shut all this down. The frigates, I mean, they're going to try their best, but, well, actually, they're going to do pretty good. I'm genuinely a little surprised with how well those Shuriken cleared out from those frigates here. Apparently, frigates pretty good anti-air. Eventually, an anti-air tower comes up, but nice aggression right here from the orange column. Look at that. Second destroyer hits the field, and now those frigates, destroyers, missile boats, and all the rest of it are going to be firing away, and Clev is knocked out of the water. A fabulous start right here for the orange commander. Basically, exactly what you're hoping for. The pink commander just trying to maintain a little bit of position over here based on the fact that, yeah, this laboratory for the orange commander, in fact, there was tons of damage that was done over here. A bunch of green units snuck on through. Now we have the green commander. What on earth? Okay. How did we get here? The green commander now headed towards the back line. The yellow commander in a ton of trouble. Do we have LLTs or anything starting? No. No statics to try and blast this commander down. We're just building units. Did we even see this commander? Do we even detect it? Oh, there we go. Radar has spotted that there's some sort of green menace in the backline right here. What on earth? Okay. We'll have to keep an eye on that in the minimap. Meanwhile, Kyber and Gogandantes are in a little bit of a brawl. Looks like, ooh, Commander, oh, just barely escapes. 3% HP left for the powder green commander, the seafoam green commander right there. Manages to jump on, oh, actually we're going to get the LLT up and running. There are no units out here. The LLT is basically worthless. Loads of units dead on the field and plenty of metal tied up in that commander corps. This is an excellent tech opportunity right here for the green commander. Wind speed on this map is tremendous, as you can see, up to 25 wind speed, and it is maxed out at 25. This is the moment where you start building build powers, start building laboratories, start building metal storages. You really don't want to be leaking all this metal to the economy. Yikes. Okay. That's a couple thousand metal down the drain. Meanwhile, the naval forces right here for the blue team have been completely obliterated. Speaking of advantages, the orange commander now in a fabulous position. Gonna build the metal extractors before reclaiming. And I think that's probably actually fair here, yeah. Those metal extractors can extract an insane amount of value over time, whereas reclaiming is sort of an instant gratification, but doesn't necessarily translate to long-term success. Not without follow-up units and accessories to go behind it. Weird sort of game. Okay, so we're off to the kind of start that, we're off to the kind of start that you don't often see. Yeah, the green commander degunning down the space over here. I ended up missing it on the minimap, but pretty obvious to tell. Larbino, the yellow commander, now walking around, trying to figure out what to do. There's no more reinforcements anymore, so every kill that these units get against these incisors is going to be a virtually irreplaceable one. Yeah, it turns us into a really sufficient trade right now. There's not really anything to be done. And there's no units headed back either. This is a situation that needs to be addressed. Destroyers managing to catch a whole bunch of these plasma bots. Wow. Frigates, destroyers, all of it and some more now firing away at the Evil Bunny's commander. It starts to hurt. 4% HP left on that commander. Oh! Destroyer shot. Boom goes the commander. The Lavender commander falls here as well. My goodness. The blue team down to just 4 commanders already this early on into the game. Loads of metal has gone back to the red economy. It is a matter of ultimate necessity, desperation, and necessity that the blue team continues its aggression. Pays for this overwhelming positional advantage in the Navy with advantages on the land. And we're sort of seeing that. I mean, Kyber, the green and both blue commanders pushing on the right-hand side here. Weird sort of match. Okay, so suddenly the land is all in favor right now of the blue team. The sea completely won by the red team. Do we have enough to take advantage of that massive naval victory here? There's still plenty of metal extractors that haven't been cleaned up either, which is always kind of one of the funny things about naval metal extractors is that you can't kill them unless you have a submarine or a destroyer. Both very expensive options here. Kyber D-guns down the laboratory right here with the commander, and yeah, goes ahead and makes it into the backline. I would love to see a capture command here. I really would. I think capture command makes a lot of sense. There's nothing else to do. There's no build power here to reclaim any of this, so their option is to self-destruct all of this or, well, basically give it away. Kyber instead just going to lay waste to this battlefield here. Oh, capture the constructor. Capture it and build a little base over here. Ah. See if I'm Green Commander, not interested in those cheesy plays, and instead just going to go ahead and go for the age-old Cortex strategy of blowing them up very nicely. Eggplant, standing guard against the D-gun here. That laboratory has a wide area of effect. Oh, okay, we're going for the age-old strategy of blowing you up with my bomb. Wow, Eggplant survives? What on earth? That explosion was basically right on top of Eggplant. I'm really, really shocked that that commander didn't go down, but there you go. 3% HP remaining on the brown commander means that this base will be rebuildable at least a little bit quicker than well, we can overflow that metal into the team's economy. But this is a gigantic force of units. Anti-air included here, which is lovely as well. The Shuriken have been a huge harassment potential. Boats off the coast right here have been shelling away at whatever they can, and we do have arbiters now firing away into the distance. We also have a transport. Commander in a transport flying across right here. Uh-oh. Fighters are available. Well, fighter is available, I guess. AA turret's going to be firing away as well. Yeah, Trotsky has to sort of be careful here. Has to be really, really careful here. Whoa. Nice bombing run. Anti-air thrown to waste here. The bomber actually killing a whole bunch of those grunts is pretty surprising. Usually those don't find nearly as much value. Trotsky still just flying around, using that fighter escort to move that commander around wherever he can. Yeah, we have a air lab built right here. I don't know that an air lab is going to be more efficient than some static anti-air at this point because, well, obviously the fighter patrol right here. It's extremely difficult to get fighters into the air when your base is surrounded by fighters. We don't have any anti-air here yet. Feels like a half-baked measure, as without any static anti-air, without any, well, air anti-air. Yeah, Trotsky's just going to set down very easily. Okay. Again, there's opportunities here. Like, we could reclaim the lab. We could, you know, there's a lot more resource to be extracted from this base, aside from just degunning, that I think Trotsky isn't really taking into account here. Similarly here for Kyber, who is pushed around this side. And degun down this laboratory. Okay, well... what a bizarro game. We've ended up sort of trading bases here, I guess. We have a Hovercraft lab come up right now, but the Sheldon and Arbiter are firing away into the distance, trying to blast down this laboratory and the units coming out of it. Yeah, okay. Well, there we go. Laboratory shut down nicely. That is pretty useful. Units sweeping through the backline. Trotsky in tons of trouble, and MVP is continuing to push forward with the thugs. Looks like this commander was eventually shot down, leaving a corpse over there, but leaving the powder blue commander with basically nothing left in the tank. And T2 is now on the way. What is maybe the most unconventional game of the year, now T2 is on the field. We have a bunch of grunts in the backline. There's pawns available to deal with this. They're just kind of not. Okay. These pawns have been microed back and forth about 30 times so far. Finally shutting down those grunts that have been tearing apart this base over here. A single constructor remains. Centurion versus Fiends. It's actually a pretty good matchup for the Centurion. Ooh, those seaplane bombers, the dam busters. Pretty good against units, actually. For the fact that they drop their bombs in such a tight cluster. Oh, except for when they friendly fire. For the fact that they drop their bombs in such a really tight cluster, they can be very, very good at taking out these enemy units when they drop their bombs. Yeah, bombers have to be really carefully microed, otherwise they are just basically useless. You can see them really struggling to launch any kind of payload here, but when they do, tremendous effect. Swald's War. Stepping forward now with LLTs and metal extractors. Now, I'm surprised to see that we still have a bunch of reclaim lying on the field here. I would have imagined that a res sub or two would have been dedicated to cleaning all this up. Looks like we have transitioned out of the Naval lab is the reason why we don't have a res sub. It's very curious to me, though, because a res sub and a T2 boat would basically win this game right now. Fiends eventually cleaning up the Centurion, by the way. bombers, continuing to oppress these maces that are firing away against a bunch of these grunts. Mace is actually trading out pretty decently here. There we go. There's those T2 boats. Missile cruisers firing into the distance. Now, against the maces feels a little bit strange here. I was expecting to see these missile boats go right on across and start firing away here into the base and at these arbiters and whatnot. Instead, they're just going to go ahead and start firing away at the stream of T1 units coming out of the laboratory from the Powder Blue Commander. I don't hate it. Obviously, shutting down that stream of units is quite nice. It's a gigantic metal donation here from the blue team. I don't even know how to call this game. An energy advantage now for the blue team, a metal advantage for the red team. These Dam Buster bombers are, well, dropping their bombs. When they connect with one of these buildings, it's going to be great. Fighters jump on top of this. Yeah, those Valiant are pretty good at shooting down those T-1.5 bombers there. Eventually, the Air Forces are going to collide, and it looks like the purple fighters will win out in the end. One of those nice things about seaplanes, one of the nice things about the seaplanes is that you can actually dive them underwater, and they're safe from harassment from enemy fighters. One of those, like, weird little superpowers that you don't really think about all too often, but it is something that's cool to consider because, well, you have a way to hide your air units, your otherwise extremely squishy air units. Yeah, here we go. Missile boats just going after the source at this point, firing away now at Shanya's main facility over here, producing the actual units, instead of just trying to go after the maces here. Just win already with this. That's a bunch of fiends. That is 3,000 metal worth of fiends versus 2,000 metal worth of maces. An easy victory here for the Hot Pink Commander. If we push forward, reclaim all this wreckage, turn it into more T2 units, you can build a sizable Sheldon Ball. Certainly enough to crack these defenses. Not to mention, of course, if we manage to get some Cortex Air in the game, it looks like we actually don't have any core air players aside from the seaplane gamers. And there's the capital ship coming up once and for all. And we are 16 minutes into a game that goes on for much, much longer. But the front lines seem to have devolved into skirmishing here. Here's another backline falling, though. The Tan Commander, High Food, will manage to pop all the wind turbines, save for one here from the Evil Bunny. And I'm surprised, actually. A lot of commanders still holding on in this game, despite losing their entire facilities, or almost their entire facilities. We are also 16 minutes into this game and still fighting with T1 units. What an oddity. Ducks now waddling their way out of that T2 laboratory and finding the commander over here. Looks like we're going to make the ultimate sacrifice. Choosing to go down with the ducks. Wow, the ducks survive. Okay. 0%, 1%, 1%, 11% HP on the ducks. What a hilarious turn. That commander intended to sacrifice itself in a glorious last hurrah. Instead ends up just dying for basically nothing. Oh, that's nice. Ducks providing the vision here that the plasma cannons and the arbiters need to fire away into the distance. How useful is that? Yeah, very nice. Look at those arbiter missiles connecting in a huge way right there against those boats. Doing a wonderful job of forcing those boats back. And proving that the ducks are extremely viable here. Wouldn't mind seeing a couple more of those. As well as just some absolutely nasty eco-expansion. I don't think that would be the worst idea either here. Looks like the the Seafoam Green Commander's base was bombed. Managed to kill all the build power here. And again, let's throw a couple thousand more T1 units away. Maybe this will be the time that it works. Plot twist, everyone. It sure ain't. The Mammoth is out now, and that's going to be alone enough to stop this shenanigan from marching forward here. Ticks trying to run forward, but the Mammoth is basically perfect for dealing with ticks. It's sort of anti-spam, anti-T1 in general. What a hodgepodge of random units. And we've got a Navy lab starting back up again. This is so funny. I've seen this so many times here where the Navy lab comes up and you build a decent Navy without the enemy really noticing. Gonna be able to reclaim a whole bunch of the metal out on the seas that wasn't picked up here by the Blue Commander. And suddenly you can turn this into a really incredible engagement. Well, you know what? Actually, most of the metal. Namely, there was a commander over here that I wanted to see eaten up. Yeah, I wouldn't mind a res sub or two, though. If we activate our metal vision. Yeah, 3,000 metal, 200, 250. Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. Missile boats have been shelling away at this base over here for a good long while. This is the last remaining outpost of technology here for the powder. Well, that's not true. We actually have a constructor or two in the backline building metal extractors. But now that these wind turbines and build turrets and all that have gone down, This really is the crux of technology for Shanya. Our first lever of the game here, going to be the the bottom tier blue player here. Taps out of the match as a gigantic spam of forces makes its way forward on the southern side. Loads of fiends included in this composition here for the blue commander, though, mean that this trade goes well for them. The general shape of this engagement looking nice here for the blue com. Well, was looking nice for the blue com. Now that shape has sort of rounded out in favor of the tank commander instead. Still, though, with those fiends, I think this could be solved with 2 or 3 self-destructions. All it takes is 1 fiend to kill about a handful of these grunts right here. If you self-destruct a fiend, you can do huge amounts of damage in a giant area of effect. No such self-destructs today, though, so these grunts get about as perfect a trade as they could possibly hope for. Despite the fiends being better in any way, or in every way, they still manage to do a bunch of work, whittling down that grunt force. And of course, there's plenty more on the way to follow that up. Build power still coming up here for the Seafoam Green Commander, who's desperately relying on teammates to try and stay alive, but there just isn't enough to stem the flow of units from the Tan Commander. At least not enough in position here. There we go. Res subs. Gonna be resurrecting units instead of reclaiming. I think that's probably the wrong move. Reclaiming all this and just turning it into straight up destroyers is probably what would be best here for the Cyan Commander. At the very least, we've got these wind turbines, which are wonderful energy economy. Wow, we're resurrecting the T1 units. That's surprising. With the T2 mammoths on the field here, I really don't see a reason why we're resurrecting all these units. There's also no fusion reactors. This is such a late game to not have fusion reactors. This, this capital ship here, the commentators, the co-commentators, casting it that they're going to cry if this ends up winning the game. There's certainly a possibility of it. I mean, this thing can shell away basically all of the bases over here. That is to say, if it manages to have enough scouting. And, well, as for the time being, let's see. If we switch to the red POV, yeah, absolutely no idea what's going on in the backline right here. Here we go. This is a wonderful little push right now. The blue commander has gone ahead and gone for those T2 units, and it turns out T2 spam is better than T1 spam. Fiends now sprinting across the field here. They're going to find a bunch of boats, which trade nicely against T2, but there is just enough fiends in numbers, I believe, here to overwhelm basically all of this. Those destroyers are going to take a bunch of heat. The frigates are already going down. One thing is that the fiends can't fire when they're underwater. They use flamethrowers, so, I mean, I guess that tracks. It does mean when they're crossing these canals, though, the frigates do have a moment of respite in order to recuperate. Still, though, way more metal worth of boats went down than fiends right there. If there were resbots to follow this up, to eat all of this up, to clean up this gigantic mess, this would look wonderful. But there just isn't, so it doesn't. Now we've got this, like, proxy fortress. This bro migrated. Yeah, I don't know what to say. The mammoths are going to tear apart all this T1 static defense like it's not even there. They just don't have the scouting for it at the moment. The beamer turrets, eager to walk onto the mammoths here, but they outrange them. And so there we go. Shuriken, a decent choice, but not going to be enough. Not to paralyze these 15,000, 16,000 metal mammoths. Health, I mean, pardon me. Capital ship is out and rolling. Keeps rolling, rolling, rolling. Or maybe it keeps floating, 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 floating. Mammoths have easily won this base over here. This is all crumbled. Extracting these resources and retreating probably would have been the right decision here. These T2 boats have been allowed to harass this coastline for this entire game. 2 or 3 sharpshooters can resolve this issue pretty nicely. Unfortunately here it's just hounds for the powder blue commander, who has done well to recover into this game, I will mention. Like, this has been a this has been a death-defying feat right here for the blue commander, who managed to stay alive despite multiple raids from the enemy team. And metal extractors available over here. Capital ship now firing away. Now the funky thing about the capital ship is that a handful of destroyers can technically kill one of those. The capital ship has loads of HP. But T1 boats are certainly capable of, in big enough numbers, taking down those capital ships, which is a weird kind of, I don't know. It's odd to see, but it is just the way the Navy plays out. Love that we have some amphibious options here, though. The ducks are very powerful. Obviously, the Buccaneers are the best tool here to deal with those ducks. But they also form a wonderful scouting line, allowing this, well, for instance, this Persecutor Cannon to fire away into the distance, shelling away a whole bunch of these units and chipping them slightly here. 4 or 5% damage on each one of these boats that it hits directly, doing a lovely job of making it a little bit easier for those ducks pushing in right now. Still, this capital ship is obviously trouble. Are we going to go for a plasma shield defense, or are we just going to go for radar jammers, is the question on everybody's mind. Looks like these goons have waddled their way or floated their way up the shoreline now. Going to begin to reveal the bases on the high ground here for this capital ship to shell away at. The hounds, by the way, eventually pushing all this back. I underestimated those lovely dogs. Actually quite capable, it seems, of dealing with those T2 boats here, as multiple of those destroyers and other units lay in ruin. Capital ship trying its best. The Sumo going up against the amphibious ducks. I'm really surprised to see that we haven't gone for mass air here, the red team. I guess defending these sides has been a huge task, but going for mass bombers right through the middle seems like they could have taken out 1, maybe 2 bases right here. There were fighters in the air a while ago. There are no longer any fighters in the air. The air transition is one of the most powerful once you've stabilized your front line, and I think that's exactly what these mammoths buy right now for Larbino, the yellow commander. Now that this front line is stable right here because of these mammoths, there's not really anything that's going to be able to push through them super easily. Not quickly, anyways. At the same time, Hounds and Sheldon pushing forward over on this side. A couple of brimstones being made. Somebody pointed out in the comment section that brimstones, their effective use case is actually the to be utilized against hovercraft. They're really good anti-hover, which is interesting because this is one of the few maps where I can imagine that would be really useful. Except, of course, the people who are going to transition into hover are always going to be the ones that win. So it's a rare circumstance that these would manage to get the value that I think they would have against hovercraft. So in an interesting sort of paradox here, the shields reveal exactly where you are, because despite not having any scouting here, the red commander can tell where the shield actually lies. Whereas for the blue commander, there's nothing to indicate where this base actually is, where the critical infrastructure is. This ship is just shelling away at this base blind, essentially. Whereas the capital ship knows exactly where to shoot for this base, because the shields present a beautiful target. That's why I feel like shield radiuses should basically be hidden until you scout the shield generator. Maybe you can pick them up with like geosatellites and that sort of thing, though. Maybe they're just too difficult to hide. The blue spamulatory, cranking out units as fast as it can. 110 metal per second right here as well from all these metal extractors and whatnot. Fusion reactor, E-converters, metal extractors, all of it works together right now. And at this point, yeah, I mean, that is a giant army of blue forces. There they are. Big old wave of fiends getting ready to march forward here. We have, yeah, actually not really very sturdy static defense. There is, however, some spy bots here. Those can be a very powerful static defense, as we all know and fear. The spy bot is capable of shutting down armies vastly greater than it in size and metal scope. Incoming, cries out the red commander, and I think that's a wise call out. Geoplasma artillery firing away here, but yeah, I mean, you know what? These shields are holding, and for the time being, they're thwarting the attack right now from the capital ship. Somebody mentioned, one of the co-commentators here mentioned that this was inefficient shielding, and I wonder what they mean by that. I wonder what efficient shielding looks like. I am very curious. Speaking of spy bots, EMP over here on the right-hand side means that a couple of these units are going to get caught. Hounds mostly managed to escape, but one unfortunate radar bot and one of those hounds will go down. Missile boats, again, continuing to fire away. We have some ducks here. Oh, look at that. A couple of cheeky ducks managed to sneak their way into the water and are going to start firing away at some of the metal extractors. Cool stuff. Yeah, I mean, mechs worth 15 metal per second may as well be worth killing. Certainly. Oh, the spy bots moved. Oh, no. The spy bots moved away. They're out of position to paralyze this giant army moving forward. Loads of static defenses here. Oh, I don't like these fiends grouped up like that. They're gonna explode on each other. The Orange Commander making sure everyone on the team is well aware that they have a middle mouse click button. Wow, some real toxic spectators here. I think I'm gonna have to control click to permanently delete all this. They're getting too chatty for my liking. It's lazy gaming for sure. This is just spam. We're not going up the tech ladder. We're not going for eco scaling. It's just making a bunch of units and hoping that something that you throw against the wall sticks. I will say the friendly fire is nice. Manages to kill all that. You know, surprisingly little effect right here from all those fiends and grunts that push forward. I think the shape of that could have been a little bit better. Moving those units in at a slightly more opportune formation. Ultimately, though, I mean, most of the static defense is going to be scuffed up pretty badly, but the Mammoth is the best static defense in the game. You don't really need much more than that. So many grunts coming across right here. Just a wave of T1 grunts. And yet the capital ship still stands. There just isn't a good solution right here for this capital ship. As you can see, large portions of this base have already been destroyed. Luckily, though, that means the fusion reactors are just dumping all of their energy right now into building these, or powering these shields. They eat quite a lot of energy. You can see all three of these shields combined eating a total of 1,600 energy. Second capital ship on the way, too, so it's a good thing. Reclaiming that laboratory. I wonder what we're putting it into. Oh, this is actually dangerous. Ducks finding their way underneath the build power here of the Brown Commander. Okay. Well, we'll take it. We're not focus firing very much, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter as long as the build power goes down. There we go. Build power does collapse. Torpedo launcher finally set up here, and the Orange Commander will be the one to make it happen. 10,000 metal worth of reclaim over here. Cerberus cannon doing good work. Firing into these crowds of grunts and fiends. Doing tons of damage. Another wave ready for crashing against the base right here. Okay, we're spreading out the forces a little bit. I like to see it. Oh, beautiful spybot connection right there with the blue commander. Love to see that spybot connecting right there, softening up this wave and making it much more easy to deal with here. Fusion reactor is still in a ton of trouble from the wave of residual grunts, but that mostly takes care of itself as the grunts are blown apart by the explosion, and now the fiends are in position here to try and absorb the rest of this attack. Is there enough, though? Yeah, Seafoam Green Commander did accompany this with fiends of their own. There go the T2, or the T1 Twin Guards, that's what they're called. Corvinus, the Pink Commander, in a lot of trouble. Okay. Fiends finding that commander, managed to blow it up. Laboratory still standing, unfortunately, here. Should have been a priority target, but was not blasted down. Okay. I mean, the line is cracked, right? The grunts can now proceed onwards with their rampage. Twin Guards are going to be quite nice, but that is a lot of grunts headed forwards here. Couple of torpedo gunships moving in. I guess these are just being recycled into scout planes here, the torpedo gunships. Yeah. Okay. I mean, you know what? I don't hate that, I guess. Eventually shot down, but not before scouting this entire base. Yeah, and immediately these gunships are going to start firing, or these battleships, rather. Flagships, that's what they're called. Are going to start blasting all this down. Oh, anti-nuke in trouble. Uh-oh. Do we have a nuclear bomb charged? Doesn't look like it. Basically, only two players with any substantial tech left in the game right here. The green and blue commander, and, well, the blue commander just lost their T2 laboratory. I suppose Powder Blue actually has a nice composition over on this northern side as well. However, we do have this T3 lab up and coming here. These T3 units can be really effective. Oh, there we go. We've already got a demon out on the field. Yeah, very nice. I mean, demon super effective at clearing away this T1 spam. Needs only a second to blast away entire armies of grunts headed in this direction, so I think this is essentially over for the blue push, the lazy blue push. The lazy blue push jumps over the brown fox, something like that. Sharpshooters in the mix right here to shell away at a bunch of this stuff as well. They don't really shell, do they? They fire like a accelerator round, a Mac round, directly into and through whatever they so choose. Sheldons have cleaned up the rest of the static defense nicely. Now the remaining structures go down. And this base is toast. Okay. The land forces here of the red team have been destroyed. This seems totally salvageable here. It seems like all that the blue team has to do is just build a bunch of air units right here, build a bunch of gunships, fly them on over the sea, kill all the metal extractors, and you're going to be right as rain. Looks like this laboratory is in a little bit of trouble here. Those grunts not being microed perfectly. Build power stays up and running here. We've built it on the water, so it's a little bit harder to get to. Looks like some fiends are headed in that direction. Actually, no, it isn't. This is all low ground, so yeah, fiends are going to be perfectly fine to blow all this up. There we go. Build power pops once again, and that stalls out this T3 production once more, meaning that there's more time here for the blue player to, well, deal with this issue that's rising slowly but surely. Are we actually going to get the lab? Ooh, it's going to be close. Carnage here doing everything in its power to stop it, and it looks like eventually it will. Oh no, the friendly fire from the Scorpion turret takes out the T3 lab. How cruel is that? The friendly fire from the teammate ends up being the downfall. Sharpshooters now moving forward, and they are eager to get the... Okay, well, they just got killed by the Cerberus cannon. For what it's worth, these flagships have managed to tear down basically everything that the blue and green commanders hold dear. All of these units forced to retreat up to these high grounds here. I mean, the capital ships have immense range, but it's not quite long enough that it can reach into the backline. Well, maybe it is, actually. There's a bit of a targeting glitch you can do where if you aim at a cliffside like this, it'll try and hit the cliffside, but it'll overshoot, and it can fire a lot further than intended. I wonder if you lined up that capital ship just right, if you could fire up and over this hill into the backline over here. One of those weird bar mechanics that somebody ought to investigate one day. For the time being, though, I feel like this is a gigantic advantage for blue. They've got the energy advantage, certainly. They've got the metal advantage, slightly. D2 walls coming up here. Love that those T2 walls are in reverse right here. With the high ground, it doesn't really aid the yellow forces, but it is stopping them from pushing any further forward in this direction. The static defense is certainly much more dangerous. Now is the time to go for those hovercraft. This defensive line has been cracked. Now it's time to start thinking about pushing forward with some of those hovercraft, maybe going in with a couple of those amphibious units, ducks, platypus, even some of the T3 amphibious going for hover tanks and the like. Cataphracts these days, pretty good. We've got this little SAM turret. The little SAM turret that could up here on the high ground. I actually love that. Excellent little anti-air defense. Very difficult to get to right here for the Sheldons and Hounds and whatnot. An Arbiter might be able to do it, but none of those regular T2 siege units. Cerberus cannon gonna get a chance to shine. Doing a whopping, what was that, 1%, 2%? A whopping 0.5% to these destroyers, these flagships. Well, the flagship's obviously costing quite a bit more than the Cerberus too, so I guess that's a fair enough trade-off. Resbot trying to piece together this T3 laboratory. Yeah, the Orange Commander says, I'd rather just eat the cost of the T3 lab and go ahead and build a new one. Not really worth it. May as well just rebuild a new one with the metal. Ended up storing basically all the metal, so we can just put that lab back together. Yep, not an issue, really. Where is the eco-scaling for the blue team? We have fusion reactors coming up in the backline. We have so many hovercraft labs right here. My goodness. That is a gargantuan 5 hovercraft labs. These aren't cheap. You can see 4,500 metal worth of hovercraft labs. Could basically be an APHIS and a couple of E-converters at this point, pumping out energy. Metal. Wind turbine's very efficient too, so it's cool to see that we've got a couple of those in the backline right here. But yeah, the capital ships have sort of killed everything in range that's worth killing. I mean, the metal extractors are probably worth popping here as well at 7.7 metal per second. Certainly. But this is great. I mean, a lone Buccaneer has been resurrected and sent out on the high seas and will now be shelling away at these metal extractors. This single metal extractor producing 5.7. There are some here that are extremely valuable. Yeah, these ones in the middle, 15 metal per second. Well worth trying to devastate. And we've got a couple of scuttle bombs headed in. Oh, no. The infamous scuttle bomb now headed towards the orange base right here. Do we have, we do have torpedo launchers, so that's good. Do we have any sort of sonar accuracy? We do not. I don't see any anyways. Might be easier to spot from up here. I don't think so. Where exactly are these scuttle headed? Can one of these kill a T2 laboratory on their own is the question. Because if so, obviously putting one of them in each base would be ideal here. I think the idea is to split them up so that we can see if one of them doesn't finish the job. You can always go in with the second one, but at least for the time being, ooh, build power, trying to eat it up. Maybe if it was a little closer, it could have killed the T2 lab, but it looks like that's not going to be the case. Scuttle goes into the back line. Nice, self-destruct. Well, there we go. That's a little bit of damage right there. Not bad. I like the scuttle play. It's a funny way to punish an enemy that has had naval control for a while, but hasn't necessarily been maintaining it super well. Now the, the scuttles continue onwards. Oh, what annoying harassment right here. Obviously super hard to detect, super hard to kill when you're playing as a naval player. And every time you kill one of them, pretty good odds that they're going to blow up something you hold very near and dear. Like all your build power and title generators in the backline. Torpedo launchers firing away here as well. Again, without any of the sonar accuracy upgrades or pinpointers or anything like that, you really can't kill those scuttles super efficiently. They're just too invisible. Massive platypus army over here as well. Wow. Suddenly the red team, I will note, is down to just 2 commanders. Right after that. 2 commanders left for each team. Where are the commanders for the blue team? Looks like we have... Where are the commanders for the blue team? Uh-oh. I'm not seeing them. They gotta be around here somewhere, surely. I genuinely don't see him. Let's play Where's Waldo for the commanders. There we go. Kyrilla's down here in the bottom right-hand corner. Are we building something with the other one? I don't see it. I really don't. I'm looking with all my heart, but I just don't see it. Scuttles right now, continually trying to find some ground here, some value. You can see these units just have no clue. Oh, I love it so much. Boom, go the E-converters. Probably could have gotten a little bit more with that, if I'm honest. Hovercraft finding one of these laboratories out here. Popping the build power. I like the build power was spaced out a little bit there. Definitely helps so that they don't chain react as violently. You see, they still do a bunch of damage to each other, but they don't explode all together. On the Navy, you basically have almost always enough room to do that comfortably. Such weird eco-scaling. The red team left with basically nothing on the land to eco-scale with. These sharpshooters and whatnot have eaten up, blasted down all the defenses over on this side. We have Resbots moving in to reclaim all this. Lovely stuff. 15,000 metal worth of base over here being eaten up by 4,000 metal worth of Resbots. So if you think about it in terms of like cost-benefit analysis, the Resbots are definitely well worth, even if we have to sacrifice every one of them. I don't think we would need to, but even if we had to, I think they'd definitely be well worth it. Torpedo launchers, worth nothing against the face of hovercrafts. Luckily, these Devastator floating multi-weapon platforms are pretty good at dealing with those hovercraft. They have a little long-range plasma thrower, a light, heavy laser, high-energy ground-to-ground laser, and a light laser as well. A very diverse and effective tool against spam on the high seas. Goon robbery. There's one of the red commanders, Larbino, out in the ocean, building a whole bunch of tidal generators. The other red commander is also in the ocean right here. It's Trotsky. All the torpedo launchers in the world. And what were they worth against an army of hovercraft? What's a bot to a vehicle? What's a vehicle to a boat? What's a boat to a hovercraft? What's a boat to a torpedo launcher? What's a torpedo launcher to a non-believer? The hovercraft. Thank you. Thank you. I will be starting my rap career. DJ Brightworks. Coming at you live 43 minutes into a game that's not even close to over. I'm gonna go ahead and speed things up. 3x speed seems appropriate here as Carnage move in on the left-hand side. A couple of grunts have started to push forward here as well. Looks like the, wow, all those going down is really sad. Looks like the Tan and Orange Commander have realized that they actually can continue the pressure over here. There really wasn't very much pushing in this way at all. We do have, oh my goodness, we have dragons. How to train your dragon. That was weird. There was like 2 dragons in one right there. Not sure what that was about. You know what? Dragons are going to be pretty good against the Carnage here. D-gun, nice. D-gun manages to kill one of the Kargs, and the dragons are working on the other one. Scuttle bombs as well. Scuttle's very effective against Carnage. Any kind of T3, actually. Scuttles are really, really good at. And there we go. Some Shiva have decided to join the party. T3 waddling their way up the middle of the map right now. The Orange Commander finally gets that T3 production rolling. And now this laboratory is going to start causing problems. A resurrected laboratory back here. A Scuttle bomb. Uncloaked, as it were. Resbots? Oh, moving in for the res is hilarious. Yeah, we need to reclaim, sir. No way. Okay. Reclaimed what they could before the demons came in to clean up the job right here. Not bad whatsoever. The dragons now making their appearance. No significant anti-air available means the dragons were the perfect choice right here for the purple commander. We'll go ahead and speed things down as we watch these dragons tear apart these bases, one of which was reclaimed right there by the orange commander. Not bad. Bombers now coming in to finish the job, though. The orange base has been devastated. Naval air forces the only seaplanes, or seaplanes the only air available right here to the red team, at least for the time being. Dragon continuing to blast away this base instead of prioritizing the build power here. Bombers need to take out those metal storages. If all these metal storages go down, all that metal floods into the red team's economy, and that's going to be largely wasted. It'd be a gigantic hit to the orange commander, effectively losing thousands of metal, even though it's still in the teamwork. And this dragon is still causing issues. Yeah. No significant anti-air built over here. The demon, the largest source of anti-air available right here for the yellow commander. And the dragons have cleaned up. The force is pushing forward right now against the blue team. I'm really hesitant to say these capital ships are worth it anymore. They haven't really gotten any sort of significant work done in 20 minutes? 15 minutes, maybe? We now have mammoths rolling out of the lab. It feels like we're half committing to every plan here. The blue commander is scaling the energy as much as, well, halfway as much as possible, and then building a bunch of units. The purple commander is sort of doing the same thing, like going into these dragons, which is a full commitment. These are 5,000 metal apiece, 72,000 energy. Very, very expensive to build. Effectively a T3 unit, but that floats through the air. They did good damage, I will say. Like, the orange base has been destroyed. The advantage, the metal advantage, is actually in the red team's favor right now. It's so funny. It's because of all the mexes here that those Cargonets swept through and killed over on the left-hand side. Demon's getting ready to push forward. Clev in position here. Oh, losing that position very rapidly, though. Uh-oh. Ooh. Look out. Does he have radar? He does have radar. Doesn't have vision. Uh-oh. That should be all the vision the purple commander needs. We have the commander here. Oh, the D-gun. Nice D-gun right there. Catches both of those demons. No accessory damage, nothing extra. Beautiful D-gun right there from the purple commander. Definitely saving the base right there. Fusion reactors being built under the seas here for the pink commander. Those fusion reactors are nowhere near as efficient as the overground fusion reactors, the above water fusion reactors. They're still very dangerous, though. Is there radar over here? I don't think so. Yeah, no radar over here means these Scuttle actually have the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever. If there's no radar, do these still show a little radar blip, or are they completely invisible? I think they're completely invisible. Yeah, they sure are. Self-D. Oh, a little bit mistimed on the self-D for that third one here, but I think the fourth one will probably finish the job. There we go. Demon left is nothing but debris right there. 1,500 metal worth of wreckage to reclaim. And these scuttles that are 755 metal. Let's see, 4 of those. It's about an even trade, actually. 4,000 metal for those... 4,000 metal for the Scuttles versus 6,000 metal for the Demons. Quite a bit more energy for the Scuttles, though. The red team forced into the pond. The blue team, landlubbers. Through and through. I'm surprised we're not going for nuclear assault here. Nuclear bombs seem super powerful. Typically, naval players don't spam anti-nukes all over the place like land players do. Mammoths finding a lot of value against these frigates. Especially with the frigates coming in close like that for a smooch. The Mammoths are going to be more than happy to sneeze all over them with their heavy green laser beam. Made that rhyme, so you know it must be true. Ducks also tearing apart the tidal generators. It's so annoying, but so effective. Just a couple of ducks firing away right here, but it only takes 2 shots from each of those ducks to kill one of these titles. Dragons sweeping across the base over here as well. Oh no. There's some T2 fighters to try and sweep these away. We have loads of anti-air hovercraft coming in here too. It just takes so much to kill those demons. My goodness. Dragons, pardon me. Dragons and demons feel like cousins, basically. More scuttle bombs. So it's a weird investment, but something I definitely recommend if you're going to be going for scuttles. 100 Juno missiles. If you just cover the entire enemy map in Juno missiles, it's essentially effectively impossible for them to detect you. The only effective deterrent that they have is your detection that they have is that, the quake sensor. Which, while good, is not perfect. And there's no way to increase its accuracy, so if you take out all of their radar and they don't have one of those tremor sensors, it can be really effective to sneak enemy units into their lines. Commanders here. 2 out of 3 of the red team's commanders in trouble. Yeah, the Ducks just having a grand old time firing away at these comms. Shooting their little torpedo missiles out of their noses. Oh, that's a yellow duck, I just realized. Yeah, Larbino at 27% HP on just one of those commanders. And continuing to build up the static defense over here. What a funky situation right now. At this point, I feel like you just pay the naval players to expand for you, right? You just give them a bunch of metal and say, hey, build me a fusion reactor, would ya? Didn't even see what happened to these Shiva over here, but I'm assuming the dragons dealt with them. Because now they're resurrected and they're headed back towards the other side of the map. Although I don't think through the water is probably where we want to go. Shiva obviously don't have any underwater weaponry, so they essentially just die. Torpedo bombers are coming up right here. Okay. Now the Cortex torpedo bombers have received a little bit of a change. I wouldn't really call it a nerf or a buff. They just kind of are more Cortex than they once were. Effectively, the change is that all of their missiles were condensed into one big missile. I like to joke that they had couple 250-pound bombs. They had 4 250-pound bombs. They swapped them right on out for one 1,000-pound bomb. And that was basically the change. And it means that they do a ton of damage to a single target, not necessarily distributing that damage across multiple targets as effectively. Which, of course, is to be said that they never really distributed damage across targets very effectively. So, again, not really a change or a buff or a nerf, just kind of a change. Mammoths versus Demon. Looks like it actually goes in favor of the Demon. No, pardon me, the Mammoth. Yeah. That sucks. That Demon was thinking that was gonna look completely different. These like weird trails that are being left behind. I wonder what that's all about. Well, anyway. Mammoths and Demon. Yeah, the Mammoths just have enough sustain, I guess, to keep them in the fight, despite the Demons having tremendous firepower. Metaphorically and literally. Shiva here getting on top of this capital ship. And again, it's nice, but I don't really know how much value these capital ships have gotten in the last 30 minutes. They've kind of just been a thorn in the side of the blue team, but not necessarily something super serious to deal with. I guess they've been what's largely kept the blue team out of the water. But it still doesn't feel like enough of a justification to stay in them at this point. They are a 18,000 metal investment tied up on the high seas, doing not ultimately very much. Torpedo bombers. Let's see. 1% HP per torpedo bomber, but you gotta remember, that is 410 metal doing 1% versus 18,000 metal taking the 1%, so certainly well worth it, without a doubt. And of course, they're bombers. They can release as many of those as they wish. No rearming fee in Beyond Horizon, at least not for the bombers. Love this little random facility that keeps being built and rebuilt. I don't see why we don't commit to this. Just go ahead and build a full-blown facility here and just go all the way. Commit to the bit entirely. Twin Guard's pretty good. Carnage resurrected here. Happy to fire from inside the water, unlike the grunts. Ungrateful grunts. Swarming around the sides right here. Forcing that Carganeth to choose between friendly fire or dead repair bots. Yeah, Mammoth's looking good. Looking so good against the demons here. The demon's kind of walking into a surround. Ugh. Yeah, what a way to lose a bunch of demons. Okay. Well, it's good to know that Cortex has an option against those T3 units. I know the sharpshooter is the Armada solution. The Cortex solution is the brick. The mobile bunker moving forward right there. You know what that kind of looks like? It kind of looks like the Helldivers 2 Hulkbuster. Tell me I'm wrong about that kind of looking like, from the side perspective, one of the Hulkbusters. I love the new look of the Mammoths. They definitely look like little crawly boys, like they're, you know, they're basically just a mobile pillbox crawling around on wheels. I think that looks pretty cool. Talk about some eco-scaling here. Can the capital ship reach out to hit these? Barely not, actually. That's cool. It'll be able to hit this stuff that's a little bit further forward, but all this stuff backwards here is all safe. So these aphises, the build power, the shielding, all this is safe from being shelled away at. But yeah, those forward construction turrets, not so much. No serious anti-air here. Ooh, that's a pretty serious blunder. Well, gunship's kind of not paying attention. There they go. Finally firing those missiles away here. One of the capital ships, at least, in a little bit of damage. A little bit of trouble. Oh, very close. 2%. 1%. Just 1,000 HP more. Oh, the gunships get shot down. No way. 815 HP is nothing left on top of that capital ship. Oh, no. Trotsky, uh-oh. Careful there, Trotsky. Trotsky manages to make it out alive. Barely, just barely, manages to make it out alive. The economy is growing for the blue team. It really hasn't been growing at so much of a rate for the red team. Largely because they've been forced into naval eco-scaling, which is a much slower, a much less exponential process. Yeah, the blue team's getting to that point where they can start to produce enough metal to start throwing things away a little bit more recklessly. Trotsky looking for an angle, but this is just a wall of twin guards. It's about the worst thing a commander can push into. And so many of these dragons in the air. Now, I feel like capital ships could probably hit dragons with their main cannon. In all honesty, I feel like they're accurate enough that they could probably do it. Dragons aren't very mobile. Trotsky has been detected. Karganeth now firing away. Boom goes one of the red commanders, bringing us back down to 2 apiece here for each of these teams. The green commander, Kyril, dancing in the corner over here. Still never found that other commander. We do have a nuclear missile built here, though, or building here. Yeah, I have no idea where the other blue commander actually ended up being. Oh, there he is. It's Clev. Of course it's Clev. It's the resurrected purple commander over here on the northern side. building this eco forward. Not bad, of course, but we do have to be very wary of the army of demons pushing forward. Where are those mammoths? I'm a little worried that we don't see any. Yeah, it's time to go for some units here, Clef. We've got the T3 economy up and running. We need the T3 production. Oh, this is terrifying. This all looks very chain reactive, and those demons are on their way forward right now. Capital ship has gone down, one of the capital ships. The dragons jumping on top of the other capital ship here. 30% HP. It looks like we're going to go ahead and change targets here to these boats that have a little bit of anti-air on them. The Maelstroms firing away with their petite little anti-air cannon. Capital, or rather anti-air, T2 anti-air ships, the Aerostorms. Little bit better at dealing with those dragons, as you can see. The dedicated anti-air boat is good anti-air, who would have thought? Oh, I hope we see T3 production very soon, or at the very least T2 defenses. We have a T2 air lab, maybe we're just going to go for more gunships? The play still astounds me. It's a lot of gunships behind here. The blue team with this sort of weird, like, grasp all the way around the entirety of the map here. Reaching all the way around either side of this map right now into the backline of the red team. Loads of anti-air turrets available now. Yeah, the yellow commander learned his lesson. Larbino, the primary target here. One of two commanders remaining right now. Uh-oh. Uncloaked Larbino. Gunships. Did they see where he cloaked? They sure did. Boom goes the yellow commander. Oh no, right in the middle of that base too. Takes out basically everything the yellow commander held near and dear before those fighters have a chance to shut it all down. That's one commander remaining. Boom goes the base on the left-hand side. Barely caught that on my peripheral vision right there as the demons march forward, again taking out another commander. Both of these teams, oh, we accidentally self-destructed all the spy bots right there, unfortunate. Both of these teams dropping to one commander apiece at the very end of this spy bot non-microed. Looks like a couple of commandos now making their way forward. The demons still up and standing. There's nothing to stop it. Boom goes another Aphis. This demon doing tons and tons of work. Spybot. Spybot. Well, that's depressing. That Spybot, had the first Spybot connected, this might have been saved. Had the second Spybot connected, this might have been relieved a little bit here. Oh no. Oh no, the blue economy completely unprotected. Well, sorry, actually, okay. To give credit where credit is due, the Twin Guards are here. Gunships in the air and Twin Guards on the ground are going to be enough to take down at least one of those. But oh my goodness, the orange demons continuing to push forward here. MVP actually calls the resign vote. Gunship's not ready to throw in the towel yet, though. That demon is getting awful close to those Aphises. Oh no. Boom goes the blue base. The orange demons pushing forward and getting the kill. Swarms of ducks encroaching, meanwhile, on the pink facilities in the water. These commanders are at each other's necks all of a sudden. The action has kicked off. Dragons around the map now flying forward and trying to find value. There's loads of anti-air all over the place, but again, dragons, I don't really care all too much. They'll kind of shrug off that light pink tickling. Breathing their fire on whatever they can find. Those ducks have done a great job. Oh no. Trotsky, the last, oh no, one of two commanders actually. We resurrected one of the commanders somewhere around here. Not sure exactly where. Ooh, we accidentally eat up the yellow commander, but there is another one here for the red team. Where have we resurrected it at? Oh, is it over here? Oh, it is over here, isn't it? No? Oh, we just ate that commander. I don't know. Oh, no, we did resurrect it. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Dragons chasing down the capital ship. The last vestige of full-blown T2. Oh, no. Trotsky. The commander that could. Boom goes the red commander. Takes out a whole bunch of those ducks, but the blue team is confused as of right now, trying to wonder where on earth did that last commander go. Turns out it's over here on the left-hand side, resurrected from the purple base. The blue team doesn't know about it. Yeah, they know about the one that was downed over here, but they don't know that that wasn't the one that was resurrected. There was another one over on the left-hand side. Meanwhile, the last commander right here for the blue team is holding out behind all these wind turbines. The red demon continuing its march forward here. It will take out one of the fusion reactors. Each and every one of these fusion reactors going down brings that energy advantage well closer between these two factions. Still a blue energy advantage, but it's getting closer. Gunship's eventually able to bring down this demon here. Well, you know, I say that. Say it before it's done. There we go. Demon does finally pop. Tons of damage on that bad boy. More of them on their way here. One of the reasons why Armada T2 air players can be so useful. Just simply the fact that their T2 gunships are quite good. Particularly against big single targets. Ducks eventually killed here, not before killing a whole bunch of fusion reactors, but doing a good job disrupting all the production in the high seas. And at this point, there's basically nothing left here for the... Yeah, there's not really anything left here for the red team in the water. No production, I mean. We do have some air labs, some seaplane labs. There's a T2 lab, but it doesn't have any build power attached to it. And Kyril has one of the last facilities producing T3. Cataphracts coming out of the laboratory at this point. Gunships up in the air, continuing to try and shoot down at this demon. Ooh, Kyril needs to get a D-gun on one of these, I think. The gunships are nice. I don't think they're enough. Bombers can be another effective tool against demons. They're still slow enough that heavy bombers can sometimes drop their payload on them effectively. It is a little bit of a risk, though. Especially once they get closer to friendly units, of course. Gunships here are doing a great job, as you can see. Boom goes the demon, cleaning that up quite nicely. Spybot here does detect the T3 laboratory. This is a huge scout from Larbino, because otherwise this would have been really difficult to find. Spybot biding its time and waiting for the opportune moment. Do we have a nuke charged here? We do have a nuke charged over here. No, never mind. Wow, okay, this is still minutes in the making. More and more units coming across the map here. We do have the Carnage headed forward. They're shooting down these gunships as well as they can. Mammoth's being resurrected and sent on over as well. T2 laboratories come up and running, and it looks like the APHIS has been reclaimed. Orange fighters headed off in this direction. Swarms of grunts pushing forward at this point. Where one shall fall, 1 billion more shall stand in its place. Like the mythical Hydra. Cut off one grunt. 2 more shall stand before it. Cataphracts now rolling in. One of probably my favorite units in the game. I mean, I gotta give credit where credit is due. I was... I don't want to say I'm solely responsible for the redesign of the Cataphract, but let me be clear, I was a huge proponent of the redesign of the Cataphract. There was a tweak unit made a long time ago that changed the Cataphract's firing mode from the sort of sustained beam weapon that it was to the Star Wars style turbo laser weapon that it has now, and I am a huge fan of it. I think it makes Cataphracts way more useful. I think it makes them a lot better to use, feel a lot better to use on the front line. It makes them a lot better relative, or at least makes them comparable, I want to say, to the Lunkheads, the Armada counterpart. I think overall it was a buff, but I think it was a well-deserved one. Now the Cataphracts are actually something to fear. They feel substantial. Feels like you can actually do some damage with them. And exactly to that effect, the entire T2 facility goes down. Cataphracts continually firing their laser beams here, accidentally focusing fire here on the Lamprey, the torpedo launchers, instead of the Devastator platforms. Feels like a little bit of a mistake, as the Devastators are the things that are actually causing problems. Ooh, anti-nuke boat goes down. Oh, wait a second. Anti-nuke boat does go down. Kyril gets the D-gun. Nicely done. Nuclear missile. Ah, it's still not charged. Wow. Well, the anti-nuke starts up. Oh, no, that isn't an anti-nuke. That is, of course, just the Hot Pink Commander's icon. Thought it was the anti-nuke icon. It's actually just their color. I mean, Shiva not finding much value here. I'll be candid. The eco center of the Pink Commander is still intact. No torpedo launchers here, though. It does mean that this Shiva is going to get a pretty good scout. Yeah, accidentally finding that there's a bunch of constructors over here. Rebuilding and repairing and reclaiming. All sorts of stuff. No T2 cons, though, which is funny. Despite it all, there's no T2 cons, and it looks like the yellow commander is actually overflowing a lot of this metal. So many options. T2 fighters soaring out of this laboratory here. Cataphracts, not as good anti-air as they once were, but still technically anti-air. Firing away with their hilarious little anti-air missiles, or anti-air laser blasts. And it's not like they're entirely useless. They do a significant amount of damage, like 20 to 30% on these gunships here. In fact, enough that the gunships fail to break this laboratory. Largely assisted here by the T1 AA bots that are firing away. Maybe the gunships will do it. Wow. Just barely the gunships do actually manage to pull it off. I think if these AA bots had moved a little further forward so that they were constantly firing, it probably would have been a slightly more effective defense, but beggars cannot be choosers, and certainly Kyril is begging for every advantage possible right now. Nuclear missile is charged. Alright, it's time to nuke. It is time to nuke. Oh, wow, okay, well. Shania says nuke, please. Giving the enemy team a fair warning. Looks like we will not be building an anti-nuke, but it's not like it really matters. No anti-nuke available over here, and there's really nothing you can do about it at this point. The nuclear missile has been queued, and away it goes, up into the air, and across the map. The last remaining commander for the orange commander here, handed over to the orange commander. It's going to be tucked away in that top left-hand corner. Doesn't matter, though. Nuclear missile across the map in great glorious detail. Boom goes the entirety of the orange and pink production centers alike. All the build power laboratories, fusion reactors, and an accessory peripherals to all those laboratories going to go down in a single nuclear strike, blasted away like it were nothing. Fusion reactors coming up in the naval sector here, but ultimately without a T2 anti-nuke ship, this is also subject to be harassed to death. Not that it might matter. Catapults, cataphracts, I mean, headed on in. Laser a-blasting towards their ultimate destination. Build power here is significant. We're going to need to chip that down before we can kill any of these static defenses, certainly. We're sort of prioritizing the wrong things here. There we go. Build power finally pops, and it means the cataphracts can start blasting away. Depth charge is going to connect with a whole bunch of those, or at least they should connect with a whole bunch of these fusion reactors under the water here. Very valuable, very worthwhile to destroy, I would say. Chain reacting into each other as well, making it quite easy after you kill the first one to kill the second one, and of course easier still to kill the third and the fourth and the fifth. There they go. Cataphracts dying, but definitely well worth the trade. And the blue team has done it. They managed to shut this down with so much certainty, eventually pulling this game into some sort of a state that might be relatively winnable. Still extremely high metal incomes, by the way. I will point out, 263 metal here for the red team in total, 300 metal for the blue team in total. And that's not to say there isn't plenty of other stuff to deal with over here. Demons still available. They were resurrected by these tan res bots. Going to be sent over in this direction. They're quite dangerous on their own. Gunship's very powerful, but obviously this T1 anti-air is pretty powerful too. In gigantic swarms, the T1 anti-air can be quite powerful. Yeah, demons are going to be a real issue. Glad to see that the red commander, well, the red team in total has realized that it's quite a bit more effective to send in those T3 units with anti-air so that they don't get shut down for free. Charging the enemy team for their air units. I think it's time. Fighter is the first to be subjected to the barrage of light anti-air missiles. Pew, 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 pew. It actually got a beautiful little sound. Hold on. The like tube sound that they make is just hilarious. It reminds me of those tubes that you would flip upside down and it would start screaming. That sort of thing. Some of you out there are going to understand what I mean. I don't know if those were like a unique toy to my childhood or if those were like, you know, worldwide, but I sure had fun with them. Yeah, no need to rush this. I think this is exactly the right play. You just back off, let the demons take care of everything, let the anti-air bots fire away here. Gunships are actually getting a pretty nasty connection with them. Ooh, extremely nasty connection with them. Alright, well, most of the T1 anti-air has gone down at this point. Gunships continuing to stream out of the laboratory. We do have some T2 anti-air, which is going to be quite a bit quicker at killing these gunships. A little bit of a lack of prioritization, I want to say. Those gunships should have picked to either focus down one of these demons and then kill the other one afterwards, or go after the Manticore. Either one of those. More gunships moving around here. Love to see the aggressive gunships, or aggressive use of gunships. Fighters out the T2 orange air lab here are going to be enough to shut them down, though. What are we doing? I don't know what the plan was here with these gunships. Oh. They're trying to snipe the commander here. The orange commander was apparently nuked in this corner and apparently got out of the corner before it was nuked. That's pretty funny. Demons are back. They've been repaired. And the gunships have been killed. There is a couple more gunships. I want to say the nuclear missile right into the middle of the base, right there in the midsection of the map would be ideal. There is an anti-nuke boat out and available. Do we have one charged up? Looks like no on either of those. It'll be a good race between those to see whether they can, whether they've killed those, whether they've charged those anti-nukes or not. Where's the T3 units? Why are we so reluctant to build T3 units this game? I guess it's a space constraint. Okay, real feeling a little bit boxed into a corner here. Yeah, a bunch of Carnage would be great. Carganeth's so powerful for surrounding enemy units. They can do so much single target damage, and I think a lot of people discount that often. Need to spread those gunships out. Uh-oh. Those gunships were accidentally a little bit too clumped up, and it meant the AA flag. Oh, it's gonna tear him to shreds. Ooh, so lucky the flak didn't catch those gunships while they were all grouped up like that. Demons do ultimately go down, as well as all of the anti-air here. Man, those Wasp gunships, so powerful. The light AoE that they have is really shines in large numbers, where they can start to blast down those T1 and even the T2 anti-air bots really effectively. Okay, resbots, more resbots coming out of the lab. We've got more cataphracts coming up too. This is still a highly contested game between these two. As far as energy production goes, a 116% advantage right now for the blue team, and a 200,000 metal advantage right here for the blue team. I would love to see some proper anti-air thrown underneath these planes so that they don't actually waste all their shots, these cataphracts. They just they kill this relatively efficiently. Oh man, this is total waste though. Cataphracts just lazily marching into the enemy here. Sumos and Sheldons and all sorts of other stuff. Easily making very short work of them. That's a lot of metal down the drain. That's basically the entire economy right here for the Green Commander down the drain right there. I really think these Cataphract have served their purpose. I think it's time to either send more of them out into the water or start sending a couple of them, or start going into something heavier. Juggernauts, maybe. There's so much metal out on the map to whoever manages to reclaim it. Scaling the economy should be a huge priority right here. We need to extend this build power and start building aphises and e-converters. The problem is, the top-tier eco-scalers for the blue team have tapped out of the game. Meanwhile, the majority of the red team still stays essentially untouched. Uh-oh. Are we nuking that commander? Whoa. Anti-nuke available. Anti-nuke just barely available. Are we resing this capital ship right here? Oh my goodness. Why would we res that capital ship? Its value has long since been depleted. Hey, look at that. Speak of the devil and he shall stomp towards your base shortly thereafter. The Green Commander going ahead and building a Juggernaut out of this laboratory. 29,000 metal, 615,000 energy. Experimental Stompa. It really is just air labs here, and we haven't seen any eco-scaling for the longest minute. I want to say this is, despite the blue team's tremendous plays here, the Cataphract shutting down all the Navy play, the nuke connecting against both of those laboratories, the blue team didn't take the opportunity to get out on the map, reclaim all the metal, and buy their advantage back. Now we're just feeding off the scraps, holding out against wave after wave of the tan and yellow and pink. I think the B Commander could afford to expand at this point. We've got a big enough army to defend it. Gonna be going for a nuclear missile launcher instead. Rather odd, it feels like. I suppose one nuclear strike begets another, though. Yeah, I mean, Grunts having a field day. Demon resurrected here. At the very least, it's some kind of T3 unit on the line, but my goodness. A couple more aphises, a couple more. We even have the T2 air constructors available. We might as well plop down another aphis, throw down another E-converter. You know, get the eco really scaling, not just sitting here. Maybe scaling in this corner as well, not a bad idea. Anything to get the ball rolling exponentially upwards here. I think the blue team's really forgotten about it, and I'm going to go ahead and speed things up. as we watch the red team continue to accelerate that advantage. Yeah, look at that. Maintaining a steady 70 to 80% advantage while not reclaiming, but often reclaiming and maintaining an even larger advantage. And that metal production advantage overall is certainly starting to wane. Yeah, the blue team sort of fading into the background here. The orange player just wins a massive air brawl. Bombers start up immediately here as the air fighters have taken a tremendous trade. Yeah, the dragons and the gunships are up. But really, I don't know how much work they're going to be able to do. Okay, a little bit of a push over here. Actually, definitely a nice push. Yeah, demons managed to crack this line, popping all the laboratories right here and making sure the tank commander can't produce any more of those units. Aphis does explode, the resurrected Aphis over there. Why on earth are we building a billion metal worth of solar panels? Advanced solar panels exist and are better. I guess it's a matter of using twitchers, though. Gunship's gonna jump on those demons, despite them clearing out this base and doing a great job of it. Yeah, the resbots are just gonna come back in and clean all this up. I mean, such is the power of the resbot, is that if you don't kill it, it's just gonna come back and haunt you. Constructors being blasted apart. At least there's a mammoth to guard against it. At the very least. Juggernaut comes out of the laboratory. Gunships now blasting away at the Juggernaut here. The Juggernaut produces energy, apparently. Didn't know about that. The nuclear bomb is triggered. Oh, not quite yet. Never mind. We're waiting to trigger it at exactly the right moment here. It's very difficult to do. Getting it to explode under 10% is the ultimate of guessing games. Okay. Better than leaving that wreckage there for sure. Oh, and look at that. Kyril has handed everything over. Kyril all but resigning from the match at this point. Resbots, meanwhile, for the purple player, going to be taking over control and moving over in this direction. We have some constructors. Maybe we'll see some build power restored to this area. We also have the Suma, or the Mammoth over here. Build power put into this Aphis might be valuable as well. There's no eco-scaling right now for the blue team. It's unfortunate to see because really they had such a gigantic map advantage and they just sort of didn't take it, grew complacent, believed in the pressure that they were putting on the map, but didn't plan for the escalation of things. Didn't plan for the red team to not give up after that first nuclear strike connected. now they've ended up in a bizarre situation where nearly 20,000 metal worth of T1 solar panels is out on the map. And what else can you really do when your enemy just flexes on you by dropping 20 grand on T1 solar panels? The spirits are broken here. Heavily broken. The bomber's looking at those solar panels like it's the most perfect target in the world, not realizing that that's just where they put the excess metal. The metal they don't feel like throwing at you at the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, the blue team nears an end. There's been no T3 production. There's basically just been air production, air and T1 production this entire game. And here we go. The bombers now coming across the map right here. Nicely stopped, actually, by the anti-air defenses. There's loads of flak turrets taking a lot of this down. Ooh, bombs connect, though, with the E-converters. Just barely not chain reacting into the T2s, into the build power, into the rest of the base. Still not the only bombers in the game, though. Nuclear missile strike takes out this entire southern fortification down here. Loads of these wind turbines chain reacting, and the demons, the dragons, basically all that's... Where did the demons go? I don't know where the demons went, actually. The dragons. Basically all that's left. The mammoth holding its own against the tide of forces here, but there are so many resbots. 1 million resbots. Yeah, fighters throwing their lives away here as the dragons try and find their last value. They are sort of an antiquated relic of a time when air power wasn't spread across the entire surface of Tempest V3. The resign vote is called, and the blue team throws in the towel. The glorious thermonuclear explosion of remaining forces here, the red team will be the ones that in a back and forth 91-minute slog end up taking the victory. My goodness.
Ended.
That was maybe one of the strangest, most bizarre games of Beyond a Reason I've ever seen, with strange positioning on bases, weird plays from commanders all over the place, questionable decision-making on all sides, and ultimately a victory based essentially on whittling down the morale of the blue team, not even necessarily their bases. The eco-scaling was on point, though, for the red team, and I gotta give it to them for sticking in the game. The morale of the red team held on longer than the morale of the blue, and ultimately, it ended up meaning they won the game. Thanks a ton for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, I'm going to assume that you've already subscribed and joined the Brightworks community, but on the off chance that you haven't, there's a link down below to join the description. Link down below to join the Discord, pardon me. If you find the description section, you'll also find the Discord channel, and you're more than welcome to join up there, where these casts are usually sent, where I pick the casts that I usually commentate on, and where this one was submitted for today. For those of you that submitted this cast, thank you very much for sharing this bizarre game, and I hope you have a fabulous rest of your evenings alongside everybody else, and I hope to see you in the very next game of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.